Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Under Construction. One second. There we go, now the volume's all the way up. Welcome back to Under Construction. This is episode number 51, and I am your host, Ellis, otherwise known as Trainman. And today we have a handful of comments, but before we get into that, there's actually something that I want... let me get rid of that, save myself a little bit of RAM. Before we get into that, there's actually something that I wanted to share with you guys, and it's this right here. So, normal area... I was just tooling around down here because a comment mentions it, and I'll get to it later. But I was just sort of looking around at this area, and I thought, oh, okay, and then the tracks come down here, and they come along the beach, and, and there's this river, and you follow this river up to the edge of the map. But you don't, because it's not the edge of the map. This is the river that goes all the way up with the VMR. And the fact that there was this magical transition from this scene to this scene that just sort of happens on its own, oh, it made me so happy. And it isn't something I planned, it isn't something that we talked about, it's something that just came together organically, and it really gives me the idea, and this is an idea that I would very much like to sort of propagate with regard to this map, that no matter where you go, you're going to find something. So, that, it makes me so happy. It makes me so excited. Anyway, we're here, we're looking over everything, and as per the usual, I'm going to start doing hills because, as I've said before, scenery is the biggest hurdle right now, or, sorry, not scenery. Scenery is the next biggest hurdle, like, it's going to be the big hurdle after this. Terrain is the big hurdle right now, and then once we are all set with terrain, then we can move on to other things. Although so much of the world is going to be copy-pasting trees that I'm going to have to do either on camera and sort of cross my fingers and hope that nothing goes horribly wrong, or something that I'm going to have to do off camera that, I don't know, I'm not totally convinced it's going to be particularly easy to do, even just the copy-pasting. I could reserve like the last half hour of the episode doing that, but that doesn't make sense because you do the copy-pasting and then you do all the work that goes with it. So, if you guys want me to attempt that on the air, I will. I will do it. Like, I'm okay with trying. But then it's your fault if it takes me 10 minutes to get back into the game and you guys are staring at a black screen. So, I do not take responsibility for that, but it will still be sort of on my head, so that's why I don't really want to do it. When Service Pack 3 comes out, I'm going to be looking into doing it again, though. I'm going to try it again. Because I think it's worth it. I think, trying out a new Service Pack where things might be different, it really could make a difference. The difference between crashing and not, to be on the Service Pack where things will run a little bit differently and hopefully a little bit better. The other important thing about the Service Pack is that we should be getting the repairs to the AI that broke as of Service Pack 2. That's the kind of thing where I have been looking forward to this since we sort of realized the AI was broken, because it happened to come out, this SP2 happened to come out right around when I had finished Mason's Landing. Or, well, the track work, the initial track work for Mason's Landing, and I was getting ready to automate the railroad. And so, also, that can be really what Sunday driving is. It can be another, like, a show where I'm here doing under construction, sort of, but I'm not actually working on the railroad. I am just doing stuff with operations to see if I can get that to work. Because that isn't really fit for under construction. I don't think, at least. I'm constantly vexed on what to do for Sunday driving. Obviously, if we are testing out the AI, there is definitely some driving going on, but we can talk about life stuff as well. Which is also, that's the point of Sunday driving. It's really it's the end of the week, and you share your grievances about the week. Whereas, Building Podcast is a similar premise, but it happens to take place on Monday. And so I feel like that'll be a little bit more topical. But the thing is with the building, like, we are not versed at doing that kind of show. So the Building Podcast just comes down to being a Minecraft Let's Play. It's also only, 45 minutes or so, while Sunday Driving is a 2-hour block of talking about life, the universe, and everything. So, yeah. Differences, reasons I want to do Sunday driving, you know, that's kind of one of them. I need to keep going this way. I need to keep going up, too. That's the other thing. Okay, also, let's get to some questions. Or some comments. Top of the comment list. I'll do this short one first. Spoiler cast, need more Sunday show. Thanks, Graham. Gotta actually work on the Iron Horseman for me to be able to make a Sunday show. I had one Sunday free, and I squandered it because, admittedly, I forgot it was Sunday. And I was exhausted. But I saw a very, very sad comment. Well, Milky saw it, and he posted it to all of us. And it's a comment that's on, I think, the trailer for To Rule the World. And it's like, I've been waiting for this for 2 years, I don't think it's happening. I don't know what to tell him. I don't know what to tell that person to log in and say, well, we are working on it. But it's like, it's so slow that I couldn't even begin to give a date of like, oh, we'll be done by this time. Because, like I've said, it's slow and it's difficult work because it's stuff that I'm so unfamiliar with Gary's mod and everything. So, yeah. I don't know. It's not great. It's not something I'm going to let die, but it is something that is difficult to work on, and I've expressed that sentiment before. So, yeah. Spoiler cast, that's kind of what it's going to be. It's kind of what it's going to, you know, that's the MO of what that show will be. But at this point in time, there's nothing for us to spoil, really, other than our future plans, and I talk about that too much on here. I don't need to talk about that anywhere else. You know. But definitely having it be, you know, going into it with the premise of this is a spoiler cast, we will talk about, you know, Iron Horseman stuff during this, you know, maybe even it can be, I'm just thinking of this now, a show called The Writer's Block, where, you know, I work on episodes and scripts in real time. Although I could do that with, I don't know, I could do that with a live stream, although I don't live stream anything. I haven't done live streaming. I'm not, like, familiar with how to actually work it. TBA's done it. I don't know how to do it, though. One of these days I'll learn and maybe I'll actually do it. Because this is an ideal show for live streaming. Or, you know, just in general. I have to set up all the mics and stuff, though. If I'm doing, you know, if I'm doing like this, I just have to set up my own mic. But we need more room back here to start building. Alright, and I'm going to build this over here. Just trying to be very careful with it as not to give myself more work. That actually seems pretty good. Alright, fill this in. Yeah, so spoiler cast, that'd be nice. It'd be nice to be able to spoil something. The Writer's Block would also be kind of a fun show to do, and I'm sure that that name has come up before. Like, I'm definitely not the first person to come up with The Writer's Block as the name for a show. Although, if you name it Writer's Block, BLOC, and make it like a pseudo-Soviet thing, not that it would have anything to do with writing, but just, you know, ham it up in that regard, then that could be a kind of fun twist on it, but that would be a little bit too showy. Like, it'd be too much, I guess, fiction, and not enough room for the actual thing to do. I don't even know how you do that. I just feel like going with The Writer's Block, BLOC, and having that weird Soviet influence would be kind of funny. Okay. Okay. And we're going to fill this in. Alright, so we have all this. The other thing is, you know what? As long as I go this way and then this way, yeah, I've got... Oh, no. We've got another 2 thick one here. I think what I might do then is put the tile over here because this area is still flat and empty. The thing is, I have to get back over here, or just add this. Actually, I might just add this because it gives me many more options. So let's just do that and then work on filling it in. Hello, ground. I wonder if it'll be friends with me. Alright. Yeah. As much as I don't want to give myself more work, sometimes you have to take on more work in order to get the job done right. Such is life, and such is Train's map making, just as well. Alright. And we're going to skirt along the edge here. It doesn't matter if we dent it a little bit, because we'll be fixing it with the plateau tool shortly. Okay. So now I need to finish boxing this in, box it up, and take it home with you. Put it in the fridge, have it for leftovers. Leftover under construction. I'm sure people do that. Not like literally, but, you know, get through half the video, pause it, go to sleep, or whatever. Come back to it later. I don't blame you one bit. It's a long video. It's a long video to make, too. So, anyway. I digress with that. Let's fill that in. There we go. Alright, now we need to fill this in. Let's turn the sensitivity up. I'm becoming familiar with these songs. Like, I sort of had been already, but it's getting worse. You know, the more I listen to it, the more I recognize songs again, and the more I even find myself thinking of them in the time when I'm not listening to the radio. Or this. No. This is my radio, really. I don't really listen to the radio. I listen to my iPod, which has everything that I already know on it. You know, there's nothing on my iPod that I go, oh, I've never heard this before. You know, occasionally there is when I buy a new album or something, but that's not that common. When I was in Troy, it was much more common, because I could go down to the record store, and they had CDs, so I just put them in the computer. But these days, because I don't have an easily accessible record store, I don't get that much new music, so I'm stuck with the same... You know, I say I'm stuck with. I like them. The same 2,500 songs or so. And, you know, it's not like, oh, I hate hearing these songs, but it's like, that's not, you know, I already know how this goes. And now I'm getting to that point with these songs, which is kind of bizarre, almost. Oh, you know what? Let me do this before I put down anything that isn't ground. Because with that it doesn't matter, but with this it matters. Or, you know, with this it does not matter, but with other things it matters a lot. Which is why I do not let myself have multiple layers anymore, because I end up putting things on the wrong layer. I'm just allowed to have a route layer. If I had a tree layer, it lasted a couple of days before I accidentally put a bunch of stuff on the tree layer that shouldn't be there. And so then I had to go and merge them, and then the tree layer went away. Obviously. Okay. We'll move on to another comment momentarily. Please hold. And then I play the nice hold music. We've got hold music. I swear. Also, Jader came up with a new route. That's something I might mention. And I lost my mind. Not for any unrelated reason. I lost it because of looking at the route map, which, you know, despite all of the criticism I am going to give it, because I'm going to give it criticism, I did like it. I did, you know, there was a lot of potential there. There was a lot of, you know, cool stuff that I was interested in seeing come to fruition. It's another dual gauge map with 3-foot and standard, which I think has sort of become the standard in and of itself for folks in the group that are building routes, it's either all standard gauge or standard gauge a lot with some 3-foot mixed in. He said it was designed after the Temeros Vale and Anaconda in a way, and I could see that come through, and also the Aquidec Central, which I recognize some names on there from both of those maps. And so, it made me happy to see the map, and I'm looking forward to him making the attempt at building it. But there was a thing on that map that I immediately pointed out to him and went, that is not how that works. And it is river splits. Now, this is something that a lot of people do. It's a fairly common mistake for people designing maps, and you can see it on like the world building subreddit. Especially, people will talk about it because it's world building, people are designing maps and such. But every time somebody sees it, people point it out. And it is river splits, like I said, and the thing is, rivers don't do that. There are a few rare places where rivers do in fact split, where one river is flowing and then it breaks apart into 2 other rivers that do not rejoin immediately. Like on the other side of a mid-river island. No, I'm talking about rivers that split off and go 2 separate directions. Even the Horseman route is guilty of this. We have a couple. We have at least one, and it's over by High Meadow Park, I think. Yeah, no, it's down there, yeah. And it splits, and it goes, in 2 directions, and it should not do that. It should not do that. That is not how rivers work. So, if ever I were to redesign the map, I would redesign it differently, and I would, I would make the elevation changes, sort of more consistent, and make more sense. Because rivers, on a large scale, are a network, but they are a network all feeding to a single point. If you look at a watershed, if you look at any river really, you will see a lot of things leading into it, and then it dumps into the ocean eventually, or into a lake in some rare cases. And that's, that's what you have to do. That's what you have to create when you're creating your networks of rivers on your map. You have to create something that is a network, but is really just a... I don't know what the word is exactly. But it's things leading together and not apart. Smaller things feeding into larger things, feeding into larger things, feeding into the largest thing, which would be probably a body of water on your route, or, just a river that runs off map. And when I say larger, I don't mean necessarily huge. When I say larger, I'm really just saying something larger than what you've got. If you have 2 tiny rivers, if you have 2 rivers the size of this one over here, which I'm not sure has a name, I think it might be Little Creek, though. Yeah. 2 rivers the size of Little Creek, here, feeding into one another, you're going to get something wider than the Little Creek. Or at the very least, something that carries more volume. It doesn't matter if it's wider. What matters is it deeper? Is it faster? And all of these will have sort of hallmarks with the way the geography is. Faster rivers are going to be because they are steeper slopes. And you're going to see more rocks and more rapids and less... fewer large falls, one would expect, and fewer slower, stagnant areas, and fewer even bends necessarily, because the river will tend to want to cut a straighter path. That said, about rivers and their paths, there is some law in nature, and I don't remember what it's called, but it is sort of a, it's an observation that we've called a law, which is that a river will not flow straight for more than 3 times its width. So, rivers tend to bend a lot, and it's something that happens just due to natural imbalances in what a river is flowing through. And so that's how you get things like, you know, crazy S-bends in rivers, that sort of thing. And, you know, that's expected when you're looking at a river, that it's going to do these weird S-bends, and then it's going to leave oxbow lakes when it's done flowing over there and, you know, reverts to its previous course. It goes through these cycles. And you can see time lapses of rivers going through these cycles. Especially, you know, swift rivers cutting through dirt and stuff like that. So, you know, a relatively swift river, it might not be a fast river on the surface, but it's one that moves a lot of water. And yeah, if the ground is all dirt, then you're going to have rivers that really bend around and change shape a lot, and dig stuff up more. If the land is all stone, then you're going to have rivers that follow whatever contours are in the stone, and that are relatively straighter. They're not straight, but they are straighter than they would be otherwise. Of course, it all then has to do with the shape of the bedrock, etc., etc. But rivers flow downhill. They always flow downhill, and they always take the path of least resistance. That is why rivers do not split, because there will not be two paths of least resistance. There will always be one that has slightly more resistance than the other, and the result is a river that takes that path with all of its flow. Most times a river is splitting nowadays is because humans have interfered and built things in the way, and sort of diverted a river's course, etc. There's a particularly good example of this down towards the outlet of the Mississippi River. There's another river that splits off, and were it not for human intervention and the control of the way the water flows, that river would really be taking most of the flow. And in fact, the Mississippi would not have, you know, as much water flowing through it at all. It is a river split. It's one of the rare few because of the way the terrain is, because it's so very flat, and because rivers bring down sediment, and sediment, as it piles up, makes a river's course less navigable, and so therefore it slowly becomes not the path of least resistance, and so a river will seek another path. But yeah, anyway, I digress. That's what I'm getting at. Don't split rivers, folks. I was going to put a lake here originally. I'm not going to do that anymore. What am I going to do over here, though? Yeah, this river is not going to go this way. Okay, next comment. Let's look. Something. Oh, okay, awesome. We've got a bunch of good-sized comments. Now, I do, and I have previously. Said about I appreciate it when people put the links to the timestamps so that I can check what I was talking about. But unfortunately, with the way this works, it's very difficult for me to actually click on the timestamps and check what I was talking about. I could always do it, but you wouldn't be able to hear it. I probably wouldn't be able to hear it over the music, and getting the video to load up would probably be a pain in the butt as well. I always just pause it when the ad comes on and leave it there, because I don't need that. I don't need to watch the video. I'm just on here for the comments. I already lived the video. Let's see. Let's see. Alright, so I'm questioning what to do with this next area. Should I base height it like up here? Because that's what I'm thinking would be the good idea. And then I need to even this out, you know, make that viable. This is 113. Oh my god, it's 113. Yeah, so I'm gonna do this. This is an unconventional scenario to use a base height. Anyway, Railord. Oh, hey, Railord. 10510. You can definitely make paints out of shellfish due to the calcium in it. However, I don't exactly recommend going with that. Going with only that, as paints even back then required all sorts of different materials. Easily you can rule out lead as paint. Manufacturers started to quit using it as early as the 40s, yeah. Either way, lead paint for residential was outright banned in 1978, yes. If you want to transport at least one material by rail, then I'd suggest setting up the dig site between Mason's Landing and Olive to not only produce sand but clay as well. Magic Bay's 3-bay and 4-bay open hoppers are pre-configured to work with brick clay. Yeah, I have something that's doing brick clay, I think. I at least have some place that's going to accept it. I can't recall now. But yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to using brick clay somewhere. As for that sand pit, what I'm really thinking is... The point is, what I want to do with that place is just have it so that Mason's Landing outputs something else. And it would... You know, the building already says paints on it, if I recall correctly, and that's why that was brought up. And so, the idea is, even if not everything would be brought in by rail, the paints would be brought out by rail. And they'd probably be brought out in the form of general goods, because... general goods. But... but that's, you know, that's sort of what's running through my head. Yeah. Because, you know, the building says paints on it. How could I say no to that? But yeah, bricks is not a bad idea. I wanted to do a kiln somewhere. I was, in fact, quite certain that I would be doing a kiln somewhere, but I can't remember where. I have a flat car that I've already approved for the map that has brick pallets as a thing on it, and I definitely have approved brick clay or something that carries it. 3 and 4 bay hoppers, I think, are a little bit big for this era. Well, open hoppers, okay, yeah. Yeah, that's not bad. Excuse me. We're gonna need to figure that out. That right there. We're gonna need to figure that out on our own later. But I think I might still do... Again, I might do general goods and just have it be paints. And... yeah, paints are made from a whole bunch of different things. You know, of course, we're not going to be contributing all the different things for the different kinds of paints. The goal is just to have something in Olive that produces stuff without me having to give it something. Because we really don't have a lot of production industries in... Did I say Olive? I meant Mason's Landing. It's not a production town. It really, you know, it's a consumption town. It's a fisher's town, but on the grand scale, it's really sort of a hang-around town. It acts as a suburb of Mason's Valley, which is a little bit space constrained. Which I'm gonna have to build that to sort of match my description of it and my mental picture of it, which isn't really fully existent yet. But once I build the terrain for that area, I can really start thinking about, okay, well, how are the buildings going to fit? How is the town itself going to fit? You know, what is the road network going to look like? Yeah, let's go back to Frank's for a second. Frank's is over here, right? Yeah, see, it's a paint factory. We have to do paints. But, like I said, almost definitely it's not going to be paint, like a paint commodity that's coming out. It's going to be general goods. And I can just say that, okay, yeah, paints are made here because it sort of makes sense. I could drop something off. but I don't really want to drop something off. That's the thing. They may have switched to, trucks for their inputs, and their output is through freight rail. That distribution, because maybe the ingredients to make it come from relatively nearby, but they want to be able, they want to distribute that paint to places all around the peninsula and beyond. So, maybe it makes sense. Is that, like... What is this playing? Something else, whatever. Because that... Was that, like, from Rocky or from Apollo Creed? Creed, rather? Because it sounded like it was. Anyway, I digress. Okay, so next bit. You can always group the power lines and catenary into a separate route layer in order to help you see through the city. Remember how I said I'm bad with that? It is such a great suggestion, but I manage to botch it every time. And it's not worth putting the stuff back in the layer. It's not worth that effort for me unless I really need to. But it's such a good idea. I like it, but I wish I could just have stuff magically be in its own layer without actually having to put in the effort to put it in different layers. Basically, I want stuff to happen without me having to do work. So if any of you would like to come on and do volunteer work and build my layers for me, no, I may have to. It depends how much of a hit my sanity takes working on those power lines and catenaries. It really depends. Because it might be okay, it might be pretty bad. It might be better than I think it's going to be, it might be so much worse. Alright, there we go. Oh, I should have continued with the base hiding over there. So we've got this track which has got to go this way, and it's got to get up there. Alright, so it's 113.30. And... okay, I've got to be careful now because I started terraining this. I probably should not have done that, but I kind of wasn't thinking I would put the cart before the horse a little bit, so that was a mistake. Oh well, mistakes were made. Plenty of mistakes have been made in the creation of this map so far. That is something, there's another piece of wisdom for all you aspiring map makers, or maybe map makers that have gotten discouraged. You will make mistakes. Your map will not be perfect. Your map will have plenty of issues, but you have to you just have to accept that. You have to live with that. You have to fix them if it's worth the time, and if it's not worth the time, then it's not worth the time. Then it's good enough. And it comes down to sometimes people being like, well, it's not great. It's got this issue and this issue and this issue. Everyone thinks gonna have issues. Nothing's going to be perfect. Everything is going to have issues. But the thing that's important is if the issues are worth the effort to correct, then they should be corrected. If you look at it and go, oh, that's such an issue, I don't need to fix that though, then you don't need to fix it. It's fine the way it is. Like look at Olive, for example. No fire hydrants. Half the houses don't have cars in the driveway or anything like that. I did that. I did a little bit of detail, and then I sort of went, it's good enough, and sort of moved on from block to block, because I had a lot to do over there in the suburbs of Olive. And there's so much where I go back and go, well, that could have been executed better, or that could have been done differently, or I should have done this. The fact of the matter is, If it's not worth my time to go back, it's good enough. And everyone's gonna have a different threshold for what's worth their time. But if it's not worth your time, then obviously you don't think it's that bad. You're just complaining. And, you know, all of us love to complain. Complaining, you know, it's a regular human pastime. But when it's just something relatively minute, like, oh, well, this, something relatively minute that would take a while to fix, again, like the fire hydrants. The fire hydrants is such a weird one, but it's one that sticks with me. It's one that sticks out in my mind, like, yeah, I never did fire hydrants in Olive. And there's not really a problem with not doing fire hydrants. Nobody expects to see fire hydrants on their trains map, really. Nobody's going to go and go, there's not a fire hydrants in this town. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look right. I mean, maybe somebody is. Maybe that person's name is Garrett. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter that much. At least not to me. If somebody else is, you know, if somebody else is building their map and they think that they need more fire hydrants, more power to them. They can do that. That's the beauty of trains. And it's funny I say that and say that the way I say, because there was a comment. Some of you may have seen this. Some of you that either pay attention to the comments I make, which I'm not sure you can actually do, or that have gone back and seen some of the really old, like Geiger Mountains era videos lately. And somebody was like, I can make this map. Which, you know, they probably could. Geiger Mountains is not all that complicated, all that wonderful. Not all that much effort went into it. It was something that I put a lot of effort into, but compared to something like Tolbrand, it was just yeah, you know, I'll build this, and I'll build this, and I'll build this, and I'll build this weird little loop thing that goes around and sort of intersects with this other little loop thing, and does this and that and the other, and it really had no business being the way it was. It had no business. It certainly didn't make sense, and there definitely was never a, you know, sit down and think about the way this map would really work, or how it would work, or why they would build it that way. So, you know, as much as I love Geiger Mountains, as much as I miss Geiger Mountains, it is not the shining example of what a train's map can be. So when somebody writes, I can build this, I go, yeah, you probably could. But what I actually wrote was, you know, because I didn't want to be mean to this person. Because, you know, they were being sort of sarcastic and maybe a little derisive towards me because, you know, I'm showcasing this route on YouTube, which really isn't that great. And, you know, I can understand somebody being a little bit dismissive of that, like, this isn't much. Because it wasn't. But my response was not, well, you know, screw you, buddy. My response was, and that's the beauty of trains. Anyone can make a map like this. You know, I'd love to see what you're working on, blah, 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 blah. And the reason I answered that way is twofold. One, because I don't want to, you know, feed the troll, basically, and make a situation worse. I don't want to create more antagonism. I don't want to make people unhappy. You know, sort of the kill them with kindness mentality. And also the, you know, sort of one of the rules that I go by, which is to go by a policy of de-escalation. Don't make a situation worse if you don't have to. And you really never have to. No matter, you know, no matter how right you may feel, it probably isn't worth it. You know. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make, the second bit, is that I went out of my way to do that because of the very end of the comment that I wrote, which was, you know, I'd love to see what you're working on. And so I figured, basically, if this guy is not, you know, isn't a guy who builds and trains, and is just saying, man, you know, you suck, just to, you know, make fun of me or whatever. You know, just to make himself feel better by putting other people down for no good reason, because people do that. It's rough, but people do that for a variety of reasons. Sort of have to accept that in life. if this person is putting me down just because of, just because he wants to feel better, so he's seeking me out and putting me down, then, I will, I'm putting him on the spot. I'm putting him in the hot seat. I'm saying, I'd love to see what you've built. So that if he doesn't have anything, he'll just, he won't really have a response to that. And if he does have something, then I get to see it. And I get to share, I get to share my love of building in trains with another person. And I get to, maybe critique his route, because I've come so far from Geiger Mountains. I'd love to review his route, whatever it is. It's saying, with me saying that, there is not a negative outcome. He may become a little bit more upset. He may become, he may say, well, you don't need to see my route, whatever. He might get defensive. But I don't need to push it any farther than that. I don't need to say, well, you came in here and called me out, and blah, 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 blah. I don't need to make him more upset. I don't need to get more upset. What I did was set it up so that either he won't have a decent response because he's doing it because he can, and it will be very clear to me based on that response, based on whatever his response is, whether he's doing it because he thinks he can build something better than me, or whether he's doing it because he's being a meanie, or, whether he's doing it because he's being sincere about it, because he's saying, this isn't a very good map. And like I said, I understand. It isn't. Geiger Mountains, like I said, as much as I love it, wasn't really that much to look at, wasn't really that great. Certainly, it never had the curb appeal that Tolbrin does. It doesn't have the size and the scope and the thought that went into it that Tolbrin does. So, when it comes to that, I totally believe someone if they're saying they can do better than I can with Geiger Mountains. Anyway. Okay, here's a little lake that just seems to have appeared. We might tighten this up in a little while. I'm gonna widen this. Alright, next bit of the comment. Yeah, all you gotta do at the end of the day is merge the layers into the main route layer. Yeah, I know. Separating the sections will also probably boost your FPS when you hide what you're not working on. That's true. That is true, and that's kind of important. That, because I do have performance problems in this game, as you guys know, although I'm running at a solid, 30 right now. 30-ish. 30 or so. But, I don't know. It's is it worth me being so upset about my layers and inevitably screwing something up and fixing it again and again for that, for that FPS boost that I might get, because it really isn't a guarantee. Not on this computer, not with this, not with this game, and not with this hardware. It's the kind of thing where I would love to get some better performance, but I've fiddled with the settings, and yeah, I can go back to my crappy settings where they used to be, but I will take what I've got. Even then I did go back and I lowered the settings again not too long ago, because I wanted to see if I could help with the way things were running. And I did a little bit. It didn't make all that much of a difference. I would have wished, I wish it had made more significant of a difference. Alright. The other thing is, the thing that I should probably pay attention to is the fact that we are merging two rivers here. And I just talked about how you have two smaller rivers that merge to make one larger river. And guess what? We're merging two rivers here, and they're not really making a larger river. In fact, these rivers look to be larger than the other one so far. But there are other factors to consider. including things like slope and what the riverbed is made of, and depth. Depth is another big one. You know, it just needs to pass the same amount of volume. Alright, so we're gonna go up here. Oh, I can't go in this tile, huh? I've got to go in this tile. I wanted to go in this tile and go through here. That was my original goal. But that means I have to build this tile. I could always just leave that. What is our gradient right now? Because I will prototype a line up that way. 21, 28, 12. Kind of looks like someone vomited all over the boiler jacket, steam chest, and pistons. The H9 also sounds pretty bad. Not liking the idle sounds. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That is something that engine is in rough shape for, you know, for what it is. It is a very old model, and the fact of the matter is, you know, the reason I would want it reskinned is not because I like it. It's because it's an engine that, you know, sort of fits the bill for what I need, and it's on the DLS already. And I'm pretty sure all of its bits are, too. So, like, I don't have to worry about, like the Ben Neal Mikados, where everything's on his website and I can't actually use any of his mics because you can't get those assets on the DLS. We're going to try something real ballsy here, and I think I'm going to be adding that second, or that other tile, because I think it's worth it. This is going to be really ballsy. We're going to go like that. We're gonna pull a Providence, Warren, and Bristol style cut against the bluffs and make a sharp turn to cross the river. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, which I'm pretty sure you wouldn't, because the only person that will get that is TJ. Okay, that looks really wonky, but we are gaining elevation still, and we are almost over the top of the sort of gap that we have to make it through. Okay, so I think we're doing well up to here. Then we have another kink. And that kink is... no kink shaming on this show. It's like, what do I do, though? Do I continue on the embankment to here and then go straight? Or do I keep with the curve and subsequently end up with a curved bridge, which might be difficult to execute because this is trains? That actually looks pretty cool. The question is, how does it look? That looks really good. That's some solid civil engineering right there. Let me guess, this is a wicked deep cut. Yeah, that's too deep. I don't like that. Well, we can always just continue hugging this and wrap back around there. We could have a bit of a tanglefoot going on. Oh, whoops. That's why that was doing that. Alright, we almost have like an exact balloon. Which is kind of weird. Alright, so let me delete the stuff and try again, because the more I move things around, the more the actual gradient stuff is going to get weird on me. And I say as I move that spline point, which I should not have done. And then I move it again. Spiral curves are just dandy in railroads. Can't do them on roads, really, because drivers don't know what to expect. And drivers don't listen to you. Drivers don't follow instructions. Drivers break speed limits. Yes, I'm frustrated with drivers. Yes, I am one of the people I'm frustrated with. But that's why you design the road for 10 over. And that's why you always, when you're doing estimations, assume that people are going 7 over. Alright. This is we have found a legitimate justification for what's effectively a horseshoe curve. Let's see how this looks when we have it all built out. So I am certain that this area is okay. Up to there. Yeah, we're definitely going to need a tile there. I don't like how steep that cut is on the other side. Or how tall it is, I mean. This right here. I also am not sure that these curves are good. I think they're too tight. Let's put down a train and see how it looks. Nope, not that. How about the freedom train? That is very tight. That is probably way too tight, actually. Hey, Chris. But is it tighter than the kink? Because that is supposed to be the tightest curve on the VMR. Where's the kink? It's over here. I don't think it's as tight as the kink. This might be. Either way, it looks kind of cool. So I don't see a reason not to have it. Is there any way I can expand those curves anymore? I don't think so. Let's look at it with the... Where? Okay, no, I want the CN Mikado. Or not Mikado. The long passenger train. That is, like I said, very tight. I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it or not. I have seen some pretty tight curves on railroads. We'd have to speed limit this section for sure. I don't know, guys. I'm thinking. I'm not unhappy with it. It is nice. The curves are just kind of sharp. I think we'll have it. I think we're leaving it. I think it's ours now. I think we have to deal with it. One more thing I want to look at. Let's put Chris down on it. Oh, that is very tight. You know what? I don't think it's half bad. Where is... Let's see. Where's Johnson? Let's put him down. Not Katie. We've already checked with the Northern. That looks worse because of the way that the T1 is modeled. Because it's modeled to be based off the back drivers, and Chris seems to be modeled to be based off the middle. But because Chris looks okay, I think that this is fine. There's still something off about it, though. There's something in the back of my mind that's going, no, 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 you need to fix it. You need to fix it. So, what is it that I'm doing wrong? What is it that I'm doing wrong? Is it... These turns are too tight. It's not really circular. It's a little bit more squished. So these turns at the... Yeah, no, these... That is definitely too tight. I see it now. I see it now. Alright, we need to figure out something a little different. The same vein, but a little different. At least on this side, where yeah, that is too tight. This is probably okay. This is too tight. Which is kind of a shame, because this is the side that looks really cool. Well, they both look cool. What am I saying? Also, what I want is I want that again. We haven't had that in a while. That looks much better. Just that slight movement really helps things. I wish we could get turn radii as one of the things we could see. That would be nice. No, not like that. Oh, that's getting better, I think. It's just the little tweaking that really helps it. You've really gotta... You know, you have to look at it. You have to really look at it. It's like we're doing a curve that's like... You know, almost 270 degrees, and it's really tough to, with this many spline points, make it so that every part of the curve is equally curved. Alright, so I'm going to apply the gradient on all the bits that we adjusted, starting here, and then here, and then there, and then there, and there. There, and then there, which ends with us being a little bit lower than we were before, but it's okay because I can move this a little bit that way. Which, now we're following the cardinal directions, which isn't great, but... I think the cut looks better now, too. I think that's a lot better. That's still a very sharp turn, though. Is that tighter than the kink? I don't know if it is. It might be. It shouldn't be, but it might be. Hold on, let's throw down the CN thing again, because I think that's a good measure with the way the coaches are. They're just about as smooshed as they were before. let's compare this to... Alright, everybody remember how that looks. We're gonna go over to the kink. No, kink is way tighter, isn't it? Whoop, where am I? I'm near the kink. There's the track. I'll put this on the inner track because this is the tighter curve. Come on, place. We're loading everything in Olive. Everything, all the things. Okay, it definitely doesn't appear to be worse than the kink. Oh, guess what? Olive breaks the music. Lol. Alright, it's fine then. It passes the kink test. It's not too kinky for us. And I really, really hope that didn't just futz with the recording. What the hell was that? You guys hear that? Oh, you know what? It might have been part of the music. And I might have also broken Bandicam. Don't you dare crash. I'm just trying to open the UI so I can see where we're at with the video. Alright, I think we're still fine. I think we seem to still be fine. Okay. Okay. This area is going to be called Daffodil. I don't know why. It's the first name that came into my head, and that's what we're going to go with. Okay, the question is now, what do we do? Do we head back to the river directly? Or do we cut through here? I think we might head back to the river directly, but that's a little bit of a difficult course to take. The original goal was to get over here, to get over this. Well, actually, the goal was to get over this. But I don't think that's happening anytime soon. The question, though, was how are we going to do this bridge? That's what we need to do. The issue is we need something that bend. Okay, like that. Okay, so we can use this as the bridge. We can totally use this as the bridge. I just need some pillars for it and that kind of thing. But the other thing is, I'd sort of like to have an arch bridge because I think it would look really cool. The issue with that is it will never come out looking good. It will never come out looking good. Let's see. Stone viaduct, one track. This is the exact bridge that I used on the old main for almost the exact same purpose. And boy did I fight with it then. Because it never looked good. It still doesn't. I still don't think the old main ended up looking good. With this bridge in particular. Or I should say Lee's line specifically, because the old main itself doesn't have... well, it's sort of a different thing. It's the same thing. Like, it's a square and a rectangle sort of deal. If you get what I mean. The issue is that I have to do stuff. No. Thank you. stuff like this. Nope. Let me click on the other one. Did it just play the same song twice in a row? I think it's playing the same song twice in a row. Okay. You know what? I think I might go with that, because I may have just made it good enough. Almost. Okay, we have one long arch. That's not what I want. No. Okay. If you can't tell what I'm doing, I'm trying to line the track up as precisely as I can between the bridge and the original track, because I think that will give me sort of the curvature that I want and need. It's just like a, what do I do with the fact that we've got arches all over the place that are going to end up being varying lengths and looking really wonky if I continue fiddling with it. And the only thing I can say is, well, we'll just have to leave this one as is. And we'll just say that, you know, that's where they found good footings. Alright, so straighten that out. And now delete, no. There. No. No. Alright, well, it's as good as it's gonna get, I think. And I don't think it looks all that bad. Let's clear that. And let's throw down this long passenger train on it. See how it looks. Nope, I definitely clicked on it. Oh wait, it's because nobody say anything about that. Oh, and the cats are fighting with one another. Beautiful. Awesome. Okay. So we have a cool picture. We have a great photo spot. Let's move on to another comment. Icer. Hi, Icer. Well, Ellis, I have ADHD. Awesome. Me too. As it is, but I've grown out of it and have been able to work hard. So, as an 080, wherever he came from, he made his way to the IHR. I'll come up with a backstory of him too and email it to you or something. Okay? Like his name and the story of where he was before coming to the IHR, thou need to figure out what railroad he came from first. The more I think about it, the more it could be done and be a character on the show. I'm sure he be able to put together long trains as long as he follows the waybills, he'll be fine. But he can be a switcher with Sam. But if Sam doesn't want him in your yard, then he won't mind going to the docks with Stallion. But let's say something's happened to an engine, like what would happen with Sally, and Sam was the only person doing yard work. The Odo would come in handy to help out and get the job done. It'd be sad to see him scrapped because he would be a great engine to pull a short passenger train, so maybe there could be a use for him in the end. Now I know Big Joe will be the hardest to deal with as it is, so I think being in any other yard that's not dealing with Big Joe would be fine. Now, see, yeah, I mentioned this last time around when we talked about this, and I mentioned it to you on Skype in between. The sort of brainstorming that I did, which I have begun to like more and more. The brainstorming that I did when I just mentioned this on the show last time around, was that... Oh, whoops, you know what? That was the straightened section, huh? Was that this hypothetical Oedo character would probably be a great sort of misfit success story. And by what what I mean by that is I could see it where he doesn't really fit in. Obviously, he has problems with Big Joe. Doesn't fit in there. Big Joe doesn't really want to deal with him as is. Because he's nervous, he's screwing things up. He's not helping the railroad really in any way, shape, or form. He's just making mistakes, and well, at least Big Joe thinks so. No matter his actual competency, he may be more competent than Big Joe makes him out to be. And I am going to see how deep this cut is. Rough, but not impossible. Okay, wait. Hold on 1 second, because I'm gonna get rid of this. And I could see him getting handed off from Big Joe, who doesn't want to deal with him because of a variety of reasons, to Sam, who is a little bit more forgiving. Despite the fact that she is Sam, she is a little bit more forgiving, and I should have cut this off back here. As much as I love this, I think we have a decent chance to get through there. How deep is this cut? Oh, never mind. Actually, that's not that deep. It's a little bit lengthy, but it's not that deep, and we can literally go straight through there. Or I could really just sort of move the land around and give more justification to this. Which I may do. Maybe one of the first times I'm doing that, because I really do like the way this is coming out, so I think it's worth keeping. Sort of the idea is if I keep turning this way, I might actually get over there. Not from doing this wonky stuff, of course, but because that would sort of be illegitimate. It wouldn't make sense to do. But as long as I make a good straight railroad and relatively not so sharp turns, this might be more feasible. Okay, so now we're going to continue with this. But yeah, and then going to Sam, who will deal with him more readily, and then finally Sam is getting fed up with him because he's still nervous. Probably because of the stress of being in a brand new environment. You would be too, maybe he dealt with something traumatic. Maybe he's even from that place we don't talk about. Or maybe he was there and then, whatever. Would I go straight that way, or would I wrap around here somehow? Because this lets me keep going up. Oh, I'm so stuck with this now. I'm thinking so hard. If you were here, I'm amazed I'm not setting off the smoke alarm. I'm thinking so hard. My civil engineering brain is like in overdrive. And I just don't know. It's like, this is not terrible. It's just a very awkward cut. Having a curved cut is not out of the question, but it's not great either. And this is also kind of sharp. But then again, this whole area is going to be... It's going to have to be speed limited. There's no way we're going to not have a speed limited section here. But I think this is worse. This is not past the kink test for these passenger cars. So the best option still might be to go through the middle. Actually, the best you know, I'm just going to go around the edge. I'll figure out something with this. So let's wait until that straightens itself out once again. Alright. There's no way I'm making a curve like this. It is far too sharp. But it's okay because I have to get on the other side of the river anyway. So, I will have to go straight across to there. And I shouldn't really be doing what I'm doing with this segment, with these splines, because we're not... There we go. Straight curve, straight. I've said this before, I think, but important things when designing railroads versus roads or highways. Roads and highways are built with the philosophy of curve, straight curve, as in they are designed as a bunch of curves and then connected with straight pieces. Railroads are designed as a bunch of straight pieces that are connected with curves. Which may sound like the same thing, but they are not. Okay, so with a long 1% grade, we get to cross the river again here. Which is fine by me. But this section of track is still questionable because we don't have terrain over here yet. What else? Okay. Evan Games. Hello, Evan Games. He says, okay, let's do this. I agree, let's do this. I now hate that house at Mason's Landing. Which one? There are a lot of houses at Mason's Landing. Oh, what? This one? The one that's in the corner? I assume that this is the one, because this is the only house that we dealt with. Why, you like them because they've got their own horse pen? You're jelly? It's okay, I understand. I'm jelly too. Also, they are at a very great sort of spot to be a rail fan. You know, ideal foam right here. With that and this. One of the only 4-track crossings on the Gilson Eastern there. There's one more up there. Anyway. What else? Are there going to be any farms on the peninsula? Yes, actually. Aside from the creameries that get this area, as we move towards Bellington, there are going to be more farms for more conventional things like corn and wheat. What is your favorite type of steam locomotive? Oh, that's a question. Oh, I'll have to come back to that because I could spend the rest of the episode on that. Do you play BeamNG Drive? And you hyperlinked it. Oh wait, no, it's. I think it's trying to be a link to a weird website that would have the .drive, but I'm not gonna click on it anyway. I know BeamNG Drive. I do not play it. I would love it though because it is soft body physics, and I love soft body physics. Like, I love to screw up my cars and stuff like that. Like, you know, I basically, I want Wreckfest for that reason. Which isn't as great of a physics simulator as BeamNG Drive, but it does have a lot of those properties that I like. And a lot of those things that, you know, and plus you can play with friends and you can have, you know, the races and the wrecks and, or, you know, and the demo derbies and stuff like that. You know, I've been watching Kurt J. Mack, Vintage Beef, and Cone Dodger play Wreckfest more and more lately. You know, well, they stopped their series for the time being, but if they get back to it, I'll get back to watching them. And that, that really made me go, oh, I want this game. Because I do. I want... And then it came out, I put it on my Steam wish list, I had the chance to get it, I think it was on sale, and I went, no, it's still too much money, and then it came out of beta, and now it is more money, so I should have got it when I had the chance. It's worth it, I think, because it's a very good game, but I'm not sure, well, I'm not sure if it's worth it, because I'm not sure about the amount of content and, like, gameplay that it has. It's definitely a fun racing game, and it's a fun game to play with your friends, and yeah, I guess it's like a full-size game now. But, I don't know, it's tough to justify the cost. If it went on sale, I'd consider it more. Which I think it might be on sale now for whatchamahoosit, for the Steam Summer Sale, which just started. But yeah, no, I do love BeamNG Drive. After watching the Let's Plays of it, like, from when it first started being a thing to now, oh, it's so cool. I would love to just dick around a BeamNG Drive if I had more free time and BeamNG Drive. And also a better computer. That probably would help. This is going to be a nice high trestle, isn't it? Probably. Or I'll just continue my turn around the hill and try to get one that goes across this way. But we spent that whole time building Daffodil. This will be the Daffodil River. This right here. Or the Daffodil Stream. That's what that'll be. That's why it's called that. What do I think of TRS 2019? I am looking forward to it. I hope it has all of the fun multiplayer stuff that they have talked about. You know, like multiplayer surveyor and stuff like that. You know, this slow integration of driver and surveyor modes is making me very happy because it makes my life so much easier when I go to test something. You know, just with quick drive, I'm referring to. And more of that, I think, is very exciting. The stuff that they've shown off for it, I think, is very cool. The features and etc., which they haven't talked about all that much, but really, we know it's going to be improvements on Trains to New Era, and every time they come in and they add something new, it's always just like, it's another step in that direction of being real. They've already shown off the graphics a little bit, which graphical fidelity is never really the thing that piques my interest, because I know I'll never be able to make it look like that. I don't have the computer to do so. But it is important to me that it exists. Like, it's very cool that it exists. That we're getting better graphical fidelity. Let's see, how close are we to the edge of the map here? Answer is too close. I'm adding a tile here. And we will come back to it at some point, because I'm not doing it now. I'm trying to move on. I will fix that scenery area later. Yeah, I really just want to get enough done here so that I can put this in here. And, you know, and to be completely honest, and you may see through it, you know, because I've been a little bit transparent about what I'm saying right now. You know, I'm not being a great liar right now. I haven't seen much of TRS 2019. You know, the things I have seen, they make me go, oh, that's really cool. But the fact of the matter is, I have not paid all that much attention. I'm looking forward to it, because I look forward to pretty much any Trains release. You know, especially SP3 for specific reasons that I've already mentioned. But, you know, it's the fact of the matter that with Trains 2019, I just don't know everything that's going into it. I don't. So I can't pretend to be excited for individual features when I don't remember what those individual features are. Like, I know I've read about it. I know I've learned a little bit about it, but it's sort of gone over my head. Oh, that's right. That's right. All the stuff that we've talked about, the dev diaries, everything like that, that's all been for Trains Next. So, yeah, that's right. In that case, yes, I'm quite excited. It's really the new way of doing texturing, where it's 3D, it's got parallax, it's got like stuff scattered on top of it and things like that. That's what makes me excited, because that means that so much less work has to be done to make a really good looking groundscape. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else it has in store, and any sort of changes and things that get attended to, the new routes that come with it, although I don't really pay attention much to the routes that come with it. I'm just really hoping for a, more and better multiplayer, including multiplayer Surveyor would make my day. I would pay an extra $60 for multiplayer Surveyor just on its own. And I realize they want to do sort of subscription model with that, which that's a little bit to stomach, I know, but I would be okay with it if it means that there would be good functional servers and that the content would keep coming. Even less with the content. What I care more about is that everything works. And I know it's tough for game companies to do that, because having support post-launch is basically putting money into something that you probably won't ever see money from. It's about being a good developer, but the good developer, doesn't get paid just for being good. You get paid when you release the game. And that's kind of it. And that's why we've seen a shift to microtransactions and games as a service model and all that sort of stuff. The reason is because game companies realize that, you spend tons and tons of money. You go into wicked debt making a game. You're paying all your people, your developers, and your creative folks, and your voice actors, and your product testers and everything. You're paying all those people. You're paying them through the course of developing the game, and among other people, your writers and whatever. Not that Trains has writers, but mostly Trains is just developers, coders, and modelers. But anyway, fact of the matter is, you don't see a penny. You do not see a single penny until you are done with that game. And then you hope that it makes the money back that it got, that you spent while you were making it. You hope and pray and cross your fingers and, glance at your bank account every 5 minutes. And I understand the pain of a game developer having to go through that, especially a smaller developer who, if they screw it up, that might be the end of the line for them. With Trains, I think N3V and other companies as well, Railworks, although they just continue making DLC and charging ludicrous prices for it. And same thing with, Run 8. That's a very expensive game with very expensive DLC. But the DLC for them is another huge portion of the game, usually. So, I can't really fault them, because that's got to be a lot of work that goes into that. And it has multiplayer like no other, but enough defense of Run 8. The kind of thing is that with a game project, say Trains, because that's what we're talking about here. The Trains devs really don't see, aside from first-class tickets, they don't see a recurring income. They have people buying the game when it comes out, and they have people buying the DLC when it comes out. And the DLC is not all that much. We do have plenty these days, but it's not an outrageous amount. It's not the same amount of... It's not the same price point as either of the other simulators that I mentioned. And it's not... and it's a one-time purchase. And again, they do have first-class tickets, which those are something else which I had forgotten to consider because I don't and have never had one. So, yeah, first-class tickets, but really they don't have a lot of money that comes into them on a daily basis, I would think. They have a few people that do the first-class tickets. They have a few people that, are buying DLC. They probably have a handful of people that buy the game. But, on a day-to-day basis, because it's been so long, they probably don't have too many of those new sales. Those few people that buy the game that I mentioned that are just, the late adopters of Tane or whatever, people that are new to the series maybe. The people that buy the DLC, the people that don't have it already, or the people that, the people that are just sort of getting into that space where they want to play with these other routes, or trains or whatever. Like people buying the T1 for various reasons. I don't know. It's just like, okay, so we have this game. We have this game that we produced, and we need to start putting money into the next one. But like, what do we do? How do we keep funding the next one? So, that's where the problem is, and that's especially if you have something in the meantime that is providing an active drain on your finances, like running servers. If they do multiplayer surveyor, if they run servers for it, then that is going to be something that costs them money constantly. And so they're going to want people paying them money constantly to offset that cost. And as much as people don't want to pay for things constantly, which I also understand, it is important to, fund the things that you like. People say the best things in life are free, but people also say nothing in life is free. So it's this question. Are the best things in life free? Or are the best things in life not free? Because they can't be. But what it comes down to is, what do you care about? And if you want to do something that has a cost associated with it, you're probably going to be paying that cost. Whether that be upfront or whether that be through the back end. If you want to drive on public roads, if you walk on public roads, if you use things that are delivered to you on public roads, you pay taxes so that you can have those public roads. And that's because there's a cost associated with building and maintaining roads. And everything else, the police, the fire department, libraries, telephone poles even. There's at least in the US, there's sort of the thing that net neutrality gets its backing from is the fact that it is the same cost to install a phone line no matter where you live. Because that is something that very early on in the life cycle of the telephone, the government decided that everyone should have access to the telephone, and everyone should be able to make a phone call, or at least have the option to get phone service. Because you've got to pay yourself or your phone provider for use of the phone line and to make calls and stuff. But you do not need to pay them, thousands of dollars to connect a line to your house. It is a flat fee no matter how far you are from the road that you pay, and it sort of keeps people in rural areas from being disconnected, and for it being economically unfeasible for them to ever have a phone. In this day and age, it doesn't matter as much because we've got cell phones. But that's why net neutrality is important, because what phones were then, the internet is now, and we sort of have to pay attention to that. And we have to nurture it and deal with it in the same way. Because you really can't get a job without the internet anymore. You might be able to do it with the web on your phone, so you get it just through a phone provider, but you don't want to have to deal with more complications. If you want access to the internet, you should have access to the internet. It's as simple as that. Well, after paying for it, of course. After paying your internet provider. You'd not just, here you go, here's some free internet. Although, maybe in the future we'll have something like that. Maybe in a distant utopian future where bandwidth is never a problem, and where, I don't know, more ISPs have been abolished. I don't know. I don't think that would ever happen. That's a little bit much. But I could see, you know, I would not be surprised if at some point, maybe not in the US, but somewhere, instead of having a number of internet providers, you just have one governmental internet provider and you just get the internet. You just get it. Just like you get, I can't think of another thing, at least not in the US, that you're just automatically provided. Well, just like you get access to public roads, I guess. You know. Just like you get access to a police department or the fire department. Just like you get access to that sort of thing, where you don't have to pay money when your house is burning down. It doesn't cost you anything to call the fire department, to call 911. So, that's sort of what I'm getting at. You know, if you call an ambulance, that's different, because I'm sure everyone knows about the sort of conundrum with medical expenses in the United States, but that's something not to get into on this show. Okay, that's right. Before I get totally sidetracked with politics nonsense, I was going to talk about my favorite wheel arrangement. Okay, this is a fun one, because, I mean, the first question is, can you really have a favorite wheel arrangement? And the answer to that question is yes. And you can also, certainly, have a least favorite wheel arrangement, and I have that. And it's a prairie, because they are useless, because they could be something else, but they aren't. Alright. Alright. We've got to go uphill. Let's see. This looks also far too tight. This looks like it's as tight as the kink. So what I'm actually going to do is, instead of doing that, just do this. Don't tell me. Okay. What about even getting rid of this? Because then no. Because I sort of wanted to see if it would return to like a natural straightness. I want to get up this hill. Alright, so yeah. Least favorite is the prairie because they're useless. They could be a decent freight engine if they had one more set of drive wheels, or they could be, you know, a decent mixed engine if they didn't have that trailing truck. But they're just sort of a weird mid-size, but they're not mid-size. They're not mid-size engines. They are what I would consider small engines. So they're small engines with a wheelbase that is too large and are ultimately useless. And yes, that includes Rangeley. I do not like prairies. Now, that doesn't mean I'm biased against Rangeley himself. Alright, this should be wide enough of a turn. But this doesn't look good. What is wrong with this? What is wrong with this? What's wrong with this is we have a very subtle curve going on here, and I should fix that. Because it's too subtle. It's too subtle and it was screwing everything up. Okay, there we go. So, I really need to think about this, because there are a lot of wheel arrangements that I do adore. I don't really like Northerns. I don't like mountain types either, because sort of it's the fact that it's the opposite of a superpower, where they put all the, you know, they're putting all the wheels up front. They're putting the set of 4 up front instead of in the back, which is not intuitive to me. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I understand it, but I don't like it. So, I mean, Berkshires are alright. I like Berkshires. In fact, I have a very, very special place in my heart for A1, which was the first Berkshire, because that was B and A. You know, it's not going to be one of the smaller engines. It might be a Mikado, because Mikados are so wonderfully all-purpose that, you know, I feel like they're just so good. They're just so useful. I love Mikados. And plus, they have the funny history with the name, where it's named because of Japan, and, you know. You know, Mikados on their own are just so ubiquitous, and then, you know, doubly famous. But also Pacifics are... Oh my god. See, I did this because I thought this was going to be a... I thought this was going to be easy. I was wrong. Okay, get rid of that. I want to figure this out. No, I cannot answer that. No. No. Negative. Niet. Oh, goddamn. What am I thinking? So I could even go through, like, I could, okay, that was an accident, that's fine. So I was gonna have to throw him in the gulag for doing that. Okay, let's just keep going, let's just cross here, it's gonna be a long trestle, but we'll make do. Alright, that's straightened now. That's a nice... that's a relatively wide turn. The thing is just paying attention and making sure I haven't kinked it anywhere by accident. At what point are we breaking away? Oh crap, we can't be in this tile. We've got to be... Man, building the track first definitely has advantages. In-universe explanation for why we can't put the rail certain places. We don't own that land and we couldn't get it. That's why. Can I get rid of this? And still look okay? Yeah, this looks okay. It's starting to look like a model railroad, but sometimes railroads look like that. Bizarrely enough. Counterintuitively enough. I don't even mean like a good model railroad. I mean like a Lionel toy train, where you've just got straights and curves. It looks like a Bachmann starter set. Bachmann. I like moguls for mixed duty. I feel like of the smaller mixed duty engines, they are the best. Like, I think they're better than 10-wheelers because they only have a single axle leading truck, which is all you really need for good guidance. And when you're a mixed engine, you're probably not going to need to worry about speed that much, so I think they're better. I think Atlantics are not balanced enough. They devote too much of their everything to speed. And, uh-oh, what is this? Yeah, so I think Moguls are one of my favorite. And then the quintessential mid-size engines, which are, like I said, Mikados and Pacifics, really do have a special place in my heart. I don't like a lot of Pacifics, but I do like Pacifics. The Mega Pacific Blount is very no, Jefferson, B&M 3713 is very, very special to me because it is just such a beast, you know? I feel like Berkshire's overrated. I don't love Northerns because PRR. Malays, 2662s I guess are cool. Some of the logging Malays are really cool. But I don't know what I can say about Malays. I think they're overrated. I was never a big fan of UP, so I never really fell in love with the Challenger or the Big Boy. Of course, I had a fascination with it when I was young because everybody does. But how am I going to get across this now? Let me see. Are these pillars tall enough? Because I don't think they are. Like through truss pier. So yeah, Moguls are up there. Moguls are very good. Love Moguls. Mikados Pacifics are up there. I have great affection for both of those classes. Oh, and that is just barely floating. I'm not sure if we can have a single span that goes that length. Let's see. Let's look at RRTK. If we can get this bridge done before the episode ends, I'll be pretty happy. Through truss Warren A 150. This is a Castleton truss. Apparently I can get away with that, but that is very stretched out. See, the issue is we have this Parker truss, which is huge, designed to be huge. Even bigger than this currently is, but it's designed for 2 tracks. And that's not what I'm doing. I'm doing a 1-track bridge. Like, I could do the Castleton, but I'd need to find a way to move these pillars closer than they currently are. Because the Castleton should not be stretched that much. At that point, you're really pushing the envelope of what you can do with these. Okay, so that's okay. I can definitely move this closer. That is too close. Alright, we've got the pillars closer. Let's see what the Castleton looks like now. Much, much better. Alright, so Castleton, I think, is going to go through. He's going to be our go-to for the mid-span. Oh crap. I wasn't paying attention when I placed that second spline point. Straighten that out. Let's see, should I add a second Castleton for this section here? And then a third Castleton. Yeah, sure, why not? 3 Castleton spans. Doesn't look half bad. go to here, and it will line up pretty well. And then, once again, another span right here. And what we will do is we will add the pillars again, because I'm okay with replacing them, because once we've figured out where they are, they're not going anywhere. And now I just need to make a third span that's about as long. Is that about as long? I don't want things to be sort of weird lengths, like non-symmetric lengths. Alright, so I'm going to move this to here as well, and I think I'm going to add another kind of truss for this. What is this? Well, I saw 100 foot, I think. Nope, just these. Whoops. Oh wait, no. Castleton and then a Warren truss for this section. Yeah, so that looks good. We'll do that. Okay, and then this is at what height? No. Ah! I saw it for a second. Come on, give me the 124 point whatever it is. Nope. I saw it. Alright. Well, I'll move that out of the way and then grab it. That makes sense. You can use logic here. Come on. There we go. Connect those two, get rid of this piece of track, and then connect. Nope. Nope. There we go. Alright, so now we just need the abutments. I didn't really answer the question of what my favorite wheel arrangement is. Because I don't know. I don't know what my favorite wheel arrangement is. You know, and notice that I'm not going after and I'm not picking the weird, like the duplexes or anything like that. Because they're not my favorite. They're kind of weird, but they're not my favorite. And yeah, I do love the duplexes as locomotives. But as for wheel arrangement, no, there are better wheel arrangements. You know. And I don't really like the huge engines either, the 210-4s. Anything that much, you know, eh. So it's got to be either a, I should not have flattened this because I think this needs work, this curve here. Because it seems a little bit of a spiral, and I don't like that. I don't like the way it turned out exactly. Yeah, it's either a mogul because of the short, like, you know, the branch line work that they do, and just the fact that they're adorable. I do love moguls. Or it's a Mikado or a Pacific, or maybe a Decapod. But a Decapod is pushing it. There are definitely engines I love that are Decapods, but I don't think it's my favorite wheel arrangement. And I've completely skipped over consolidation because I used to love consolidations, but now they've sort of slipped off my radar. And I'm not entirely sure why, I just don't like them as much anymore. You know, they're kind of too clunky. It's like you're almost a Mikado, but you're not quite there yet. And I don't know. So, but, you know, I'm comparing everything to a Mikado, so I really, if I'm going to be honest with myself, it's probably a Mikado. I like Mikados. They're a little bit generic, but, you know, that's why I like them in a way. This is the Castleton. Oh, I love this area already. Yeah, I probably should have fixed this, because this doesn't look great. Let's see if I can fix it on the fly, and let's see how bad the abutments actually look. Yeah, that might be better. It gives you less of a sharp turn right out of the gate. Although, I can't exactly say. Yeah, no, I like this better. Oh, you know what? I don't even need to change anything. Look, it looks fine. Well, this is a little bit high. There. And now let's park a train on it and see how it looks. Not even that. Let's get my 50s consist, my 50s manifest. This is just an example train I threw together. I was thinking of making as well, because Mason suggested this, a mile-long train for myself to use as a marker, or as a thing. It looks great. I can't wait to get a river through here. We're almost at this false summit. We're almost at this point, at which point we will begin descending. And I said the maximum was what? Because I think we're already past it. We are well past it. So I need to get over the hump and I need to start coming down soon. Because we're at 124 and we need to get down. Because I just keep going up over here. I don't know. It's worth it though. We get so much beautiful scenery. The Castleton Daffodil. Oh man, I'm in love. And this is a 1% grade from there to there. That is a long way to go to still only be stuck at that height. And I need to hug the edge here. I need to hug the edge or else I've got to add another tile that I don't want to deal with. Yeah, like so. And then at this point, how high am I above the river? Not by much. That's an issue. That's an issue. The ideal was to gain height above the river, but if the river is this high, then I'm not that high above the river, and I can't really plunge through the bedrock to get to the other side. I could have just sent the river off there, and I think I might have had a better time. But between here and here is 50... no, not 50. It's like 35 of difference, even if I stop climbing now. So, I don't know. That's not great. Also, there's a section of 1.79 in here. Oh, it's just that. That's fine. I love this. No, you know what? It's going to be called Bristol Curve. Because of the Providence Ward in Bristol and their sharpest curve in the world. This is going to be the Daffodil Stream, but that's going to be Bristol Curve. So let me add a couple of signs. Come on, where are you? No, I can't click on you. Oh, there we go. Alright, so let's go over here. Okay, I may have forgotten how to spell daffodil. No. Is that how you spell daffodil? I'm looking it up because I am not doing this wrong. And I should have done it on my phone instead of trying to ask my computer to do more. Ah, for God's sake. And we're about to end the episode too. I'm literally 10 seconds away from running out of time. No, I did it right. Alright, I did it right. Daffodil Stream. And then sink that into the ground. Like so. And then this is going to be Bristol Curve. What should I do here to have something to mark? Maybe like a random... I don't know. Something. I don't know. I'll just add another like, another runway number down here. There, it's gone. It's out of the way. Okay, there we go. We've got another couple of miles of track here, and I hope I answered all your questions well enough, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next week. Train Man out.